Get away from her! Cole's voice thundered through the hospital corridor as Derek Stone grabbed Emma's broken arm and yanked her toward the exit. The 7-year-old screamed in agony. 98 bikers surged forward, forming a wall of leather and fury between a corrupt sheriff's deputy and the child he'd been beating for 3 years. Derek drew his service weapon. One more step and I'll arrest every one of you. But Cole didn't stop. He'd made a promise to Emma's dying father in the blood-soaked sand of Syria. And today, surrounded by his brothers with cameras rolling and the whole world watching, he was going to keep it, no matter the cost. If you want to see how 98 bikers brought down a monster hiding behind a badge, subscribe to our channel and stay until the very end. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. The phone rang at 3:17 a.m., and Cole Hartley's life changed forever. He almost didn't answer. His hands were covered in engine grease and the caller ID showed a Texas area code he didn't recognize. But something made him reach for it anyway. Something in his gut that had kept him alive through 3 combat tours told him this call mattered. Hello. Silence. Then breathing. Small, shaky, terrified breathing. Hello, who is this? Uncle Cole. His heart stopped. He knew that voice. He'd dreamed about that voice for 3 years, ever since a man with cold eyes had pulled a 4-year-old girl away from him at a gas station and threatened him with a restraining order. Emma, baby, is that you? Uncle Cole. Daddy said you'd come if I was scared. Her voice was barely a whisper, broken by quiet sobs. I'm really scared. Cole was already moving, grabbing for his keys, knocking tools off his workbench. Emma, sweetheart, where are you? Tell me where you are. I'm in the bathroom, at the hospital. I snuck the phone from the nurse's desk because Derek took mine away and I couldn't call nobody. And Mommy told me before she went to heaven that if I was ever really scared, I should call you because you promised Daddy you'd always come. Cole's blood ran cold. Hospital, Emma. Why are you in the hospital? The little girl's voice cracked. Derek hurt me again. He told the doctors I fell down the stairs, but I didn't fall, Uncle Cole. I didn't fall. He pushed me because I was crying for Mommy, and he said if I didn't stop crying, he'd give me something to really cry about, and then he pushed me and my arm made a bad sound and it hurt so much, and I'm so scared he's going to take me back home and do it again. Cole felt something break inside his chest. 4 years ago, he'd held his best friend Marcus Webb as he bled out in Syrian sand. Marcus had thrown himself on a grenade meant for Cole, had given his life so Cole could live, and with his last breath, Marcus had made Cole promise one thing. My baby girl, Marcus had whispered, blood bubbling from his lips. Emma. She's only 3. Promise me, Cole. Promise me you'll watch over her. Promise me you'll be there if she ever needs you. I promise, brother. I swear on my life. She's everything to me. Don't let anyone. Marcus never finished that sentence. He died in Cole's arms, and Cole had carried that promise like a weight around his neck ever since. He'd tried to keep it. God knows he'd tried. He'd gone to the funeral, held little Emma's hand while she cried. He'd tried to stay in touch, but Jennifer, Marcus's widow, had remarried fast. Too fast. A sheriff's deputy named Derek Stone who smiled with his mouth but never with his eyes. Derek had made it clear from day one that Cole wasn't welcome. No bikers around his family. No bad influences around his stepdaughter. When Cole had tried to visit on Emma's 5th birthday, Derek had threatened arrest. When Cole had accidentally run into them at a gas station a year later, Emma had broken away from her mother's hand and run to him screaming, Uncle Cole! Uncle Cole! Like he was a life raft in a storm. Derek had grabbed her so hard she'd cried out. Jennifer had just stood there, eyes down, saying nothing. And Cole had known then that something was very, very wrong in that house. But what could he do? He was just a biker. Derek was a cop. The system protected its own. Now that system had failed a 7-year-old girl who was hiding in a hospital bathroom whispering into a stolen phone because she had no one else to call. Emma, listen to me. Cole forced his voice to stay calm, even though his hands were shaking. I need you to stay exactly where you are. Can you do that for me? But what if Derek finds me? What if he won't find you? I need you to be brave. Okay? Like your daddy was brave. Can you be brave for me? A long pause. Then, in a small voice, Daddy was the bravest person ever. He was sweetheart. And you know what he told me? You were brave too. He said his little Emma was the bravest girl in the whole world. He did. He did. So I need you to lock that bathroom door and stay inside until a nice lady named Sarah comes to get you. Can you do that? How do you know about Sarah? Cole didn't, but he was about to find out. I'm going to call the hospital right now, Emma. I'm going to make sure you're safe, and then I'm coming to get you, I promise. You promise? Those two words hit him like a bullet. He'd made a promise to Marcus 4 years ago. He'd failed to keep it. He wouldn't fail again. I promise, baby girl. Uncle Cole is coming. Nothing in this world is going to stop me. After he hung up, Cole stood in his garage surrounded by the motorcycles he'd spent his life rebuilding. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. And a rage was building in his chest that he hadn't felt since the war. A 7-year-old girl. A cop who beat children. A system that looked the other way. Not anymore. He dialed the hospital's main number and waited through 4 transfers before a tired voice answered. St. Catherine's Social Services, this is Sarah Mendez. My name is Cole Hartley. I'm calling about Emma Webb. She just called me from a bathroom in your hospital. Silence. Then Sarah's voice changed, became sharp and alert. She called you. How did she? We've been trying to reach family for 2 days. Her stepfather said she had no other relatives. Her stepfather is a liar. Her father was my best friend. I'm her godfather, and I'm coming to get her. Mr. Hartley, I need you to understand the situation. Emma has a broken wrist, 3 fractured ribs, and contusions in various stages of healing. The stepfather claims she fell downstairs, but the injury patterns don't match a fall. They match someone grabbing her and throwing her. I know. Sarah paused. Yes, exactly. I've reported my concerns, but Sheriff Stone's colleagues conducted the investigation. They cleared him within 6 hours. Cole's jaw tightened. His colleagues, other cops. Yes. And he's already filed paperwork to have her discharged into his custody tomorrow morning. I've stalled as long as I can, but I'm running out of options. If you have any legal standing, I have Marcus Webb's will naming me as Emma's guardian if anything happened to both parents. Jennifer's dead. That will is valid. Another pause. Jennifer Webb died 8 months ago. Car accident. At least that's what the official report says. Something in her tone made Cole's blood run colder. You don't believe it. I believe a healthy 32-year-old woman who had just told her daughter she was planning to leave her husband somehow drove off a cliff in broad daylight. I believe her car's brakes were found to be faulty, even though she'd had them serviced 2 weeks earlier. I believe the investigating officer was Derek Stone's best friend. Sarah's voice hardened. I believe a lot of things, Mr. Hartley. But belief doesn't mean anything without proof. Then I'll get proof. Just keep Emma safe until I get there. How fast can you get here? Cole calculated the distance. Phoenix to rural Texas. 640 miles. In a car that was 10 hours minimum. But he wasn't bringing a car. Give me 18 hours. I can maybe stretch it to 20. But Mr. Hartley, you need to understand something. Derek Stone isn't just some small-town deputy. He has friends. Powerful friends. If you come here looking for a fight, I'm not coming for a fight, Ms. Mendez. I'm coming for my goddaughter. The fight is what happens if anyone tries to stop me. After he hung up, Cole pulled up the group chat for the Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club. 97 members across 4 states. Brothers and sisters who'd ridden through hell together, who understood that loyalty wasn't just a word you wore on a patch. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. What he was about to do would change everything. It could bring trouble down on all of them. The kind of trouble that followed bikers like shadows that made people clutch their purses and lock their doors. But then he remembered Emma's voice, small and scared and desperate. Uncle Cole, Daddy said you'd come if I was scared. He started typing. Emergency. Marcus Webb's daughter. 7 years old. Hospital in Texas. Stepfather is a cop who beats her. I'm going to get her. Wheels up at 5 a.m. This isn't a request. This is family. The responses came in like thunder. Diesel. I'm in. For Marcus. Ghost. Already packing. I'll bring medical supplies. Mama rose. That baby needs her wolves. Don't you dare leave without me. Reaper. Say the word Prez. Judge, I'm already drafting emergency custody motions. See you in Texas. Within 15 minutes, all 97 members had responded. Every single one. No questions about work schedules or prior commitments or whether this was worth the risk. Just instant, absolute commitment. Because that's what family meant. At 4:30 a.m., Cole stood in front of his garage watching the sun claw its way over the Arizona desert. The first motorcycles were already arriving, headlights cutting through the pre-dawn darkness like searching eyes. Diesel showed up first, all 6'5" of him, his construction worker's arms covered in tattoos. Right behind him came Mama Rose, 70 years old, and meaner than a rattlesnake, with her late husband's dog tag still hanging around her neck. Ghost pulled in next the former combat medic who'd held Marcus's hand in Syria, while Cole had called in the evac that never came. Then Reaper, whose real name was Marcus too, which is why everyone called him by his road name. One by one they came, teachers and truck drivers, nurses and contractors, grandmothers and war veterans, people with mortgages and car payments and kids in college, people who'd never broken a law in their lives except for maybe speeding on an open highway, people who understood that sometimes doing the right thing meant doing the hard thing. By 5 a.m., 97 motorcycles filled the parking lot of Cole's garage. 97 engines rumbled in the early morning quiet. 97 faces turned toward him, waiting. Cole walked to the front leather jacket, creaking boots crunching on gravel. He looked at his people, his family, and felt something crack in the wall he'd built around his heart since Marcus died. You all know why we're here, he said, his voice rough. 4 years ago, Marcus Webb saved my life. He threw himself on a grenade meant for me. And before he died, he made me promise to watch over his daughter. He paused, fighting to keep his voice steady. I failed that promise. I let some badge-wearing coward scare me off. I let that little girl suffer because I thought the system would protect her. But the system doesn't protect kids like Emma. The system protects men like Derek Stone. Mama Rose spoke up, her voice sharp. So what's the play, Prez, we ride in there, and what beat the crap out of a cop in front of a hospital? No. Cole shook his head. We do this right. We do this legal. Judge is already filing emergency custody paperwork. I have Marcus's will naming me as Emma's guardian. We're not going there to fight. We're going there to protect. And if they try to stop us, Diesel asked, then we stand our ground, peacefully, legally. Every camera in that town is going to be on us, so we give them nothing. We're not criminals. We're not a gang. We're 98 Americans exercising our right to peaceful assembly while protecting a child from her abuser. Ghost stepped forward. I served with Marcus, watched him die. That little girl deserves better than what she got. I'm in. One by one, the others nodded. Mama Rose, Diesel, Reaper, all 97 of them. Cole felt the weight of their trust settling onto his shoulders. These people were putting their lives, their reputations, their freedom on the line because he'd asked them to, because a promise made to a dying man still meant something. 640 miles, he said. We stop once for gas, once for food. We ride tight, we ride legal, and we don't give anyone a reason to stop us. When we get there, we form up around that hospital, and we don't leave until Emma is safe. Understood? Understood. Then let's ride. 98 engines roared to life in perfect synchronization. The sound shook windows and set off car alarms up and down the street. It was a sound like thunder, like war drums, like a promise being kept. Cole kicked his Harley to life and rolled out onto the empty highway. Behind him, 97 motorcycles fell into formation, a river of chrome and leather stretching back half a mile. The sun rose over the Arizona desert, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold. And somewhere in a Texas hospital, a 7-year-old girl clutched her teddy bear and whispered to herself, Uncle Cole is coming. He promised. And Daddy said Uncle Cole always keeps his promises. She had no way of knowing that 98 bikers were riding through the desert to save her. She had no way of knowing that her stepfather had already made phone calls of his own, calling in favors from friends in high places. She had no way of knowing that her dead mother had hidden something in that teddy bear. Something that would bring down not just Derek Stone, but an entire network of corruption. All she knew was that she was scared and alone and hurting. But she wouldn't be alone for long. The Iron Wolves were coming. They'd been riding for 3 hours when Cole's phone buzzed in his jacket pocket. He pulled off at a rest stop, the convoy rolling in behind him like a mechanical tide. Sarah Mendez's number flashed on the screen. "What's wrong? He knows." Sarah's voice was tight with fear. "Derek knows you're coming. Someone tipped him off. He's on his way to the hospital right now with 2 other deputies. He's demanding we discharge Emma immediately." Cole's blood turned to ice. "You can't let him take her." "I'm trying. I got a doctor to order more tests, bought us maybe 4 or 5 hours. But Mr. Hartley, he's furious. I've never seen him like this. He told me if I didn't cooperate, he'd make sure I never worked in social services again." "Did you record that?" A pause. "Yes. I've been recording everything since Emma was admitted." "Good. Keep recording. We're still 5 hours out, but I'm sending a group ahead. Fastest riders, best bikes. They'll be there in 3. And then what?" "Then we make sure Derek Stone doesn't get anywhere near Emma until I have legal custody. Judge is working on an emergency order. Should have it signed before we arrive." "Mr. Hartley." Sarah hesitated. "There's something else. Emma told me something this morning about her mother, about the night before Jennifer died." Cole gripped the phone tighter. "Tell me." "Jennifer came into Emma's room late at night. Emma said her mom was crying and shaking. Jennifer told Emma she'd found something bad, something about Derek, and she was going to the police. She gave Emma a piece of paper with your phone number and told her to hide it in her teddy bear. She said if anything ever happened to her, Emma should call you." Jesus. There's more. Jennifer also hid something else in that teddy bear. Emma doesn't know what it is, just that her mom told her it was important. She made Emma promise not to tell anyone, especially Derek. Cole's mind raced. Jennifer had known. She'd known something was wrong, known she might not survive, and she'd left behind. What proof evidence? "Where's the teddy bear now?" "Emma has it. She won't let go of it. Derek tried to take it from her yesterday, and she screamed so loud half the ward came running. Don't let anyone else touch that bear. I'll be there as soon as I can. Please hurry. I don't know how much longer I can..." The line went dead. Cole stared at his phone for a long moment. Then he turned to his club gathered around their bikes waiting. "Change of plans. Diesel Ghost Reaper. I need you to break off with the fastest 10 riders we've got. Push hard. Get to that hospital before Derek does." Diesel frowned. "What's happening?" "The stepfather knows we're coming. He's trying to grab Emma before we get there. I need boots on the ground now." Ghost was already swinging onto his bike. "We'll make it. Don't engage him directly. Just get to that hospital and don't leave until we arrive. If Derek tries to take Emma, you call me. You call Judge. You call every news station in the state. We make this public before he can bury it. And if he tries to arrest us, let him try. We'll have cameras rolling the whole time. Anything he does will be on video." Diesel nodded slowly. "You think this goes deeper than just one bad cop, don't you?" Cole thought about Jennifer's accident, about the investigation by Derek's friends, about a little girl hidden something in a teddy bear because her mother was afraid she wouldn't live to tell the truth herself. "I think Derek Stone has been hiding behind his badge for a long time, and I think it's time someone pulled that badge away." The 12 fastest riders tore out of the rest stop engine, screaming as they accelerated toward Texas. Cole watched them go, a tight knot forming in his stomach. Something told him this was about to get a lot worse before it got better. He just hoped they'd get there in time. At St. Catherine's Hospital, Emma Webb sat in her hospital bed, teddy bear clutched to her chest. Her broken wrist throbbed beneath its cast. Her ribs ached with every breath, but it was the fear that hurt worst of all. Derek was coming. She'd heard the nurses talking when they thought she was asleep. He was coming to take her home, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop him. She buried her face in her teddy bear's worn fur. It still smelled a little like Mommy's perfume, even after all these months. "I miss you, Mommy," she whispered. "I'm trying to be brave like you said, but I'm so scared. Derek's going to hurt me again. I know he is." The door opened and Sarah slipped in, face pale but determined. "Emma, honey, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Your Uncle Cole is on his way. He's going to be here soon." "How soon?" "A few hours, but some of his friends are going to be here even sooner. They're going to make sure Derek can't take you okay." Emma's eyes widened. "But Derek's a police officer. He can do whatever he wants." "Not this time, sweetheart." Sarah knelt beside her bed, taking her uninjured hand. "This time we're not going to let him. Do you promise?" Sarah hesitated. In her 23 years, she'd learned that promises were dangerous things, that the system didn't always work the way it should, that bad people sometimes won. But looking into Emma's eyes, she couldn't say any of that. "I promise, Emma. No matter what happens, I'm not going to let Derek take you." She just hoped she could keep that promise. 3 hours later, the first motorcycles appeared on the horizon. 12 riders moving in tight formation, chrome glinting in the Texas sun. They pulled into the hospital parking lot and parked in a line, engines dying one by one. Diesel dismounted first, removing his helmet to reveal a face that had scared plenty of people in its time. But when he looked up at the hospital windows, when he saw a small figure watching from the 3rd floor, his expression softened. "There she is," he said quietly. Ghost walked up beside him. "Derek's car is in the back lot. He's already here." "Then we're just in time." They walked toward the hospital entrance, 12 bikers in leather and denim tattoos and scars and road-worn faces. They looked like exactly what most people expected bikers to look like. They looked like trouble. But when they reached the front desk, Diesel removed his sunglasses and smiled at the nervous receptionist. "Afternoon, ma'am. We're here to see Emma Webb. We're family." The receptionist's eyes darted to the leather cuts, the patches, the intimidating wall of muscle behind him. I'll need to check with whoever you need to check with. We'll wait right here. Peacefully. Legally. Just let Ms. Mendez know that Emma's uncles are here." They weren't going anywhere, and neither was Emma. The elevator doors opened on the 3rd floor, and Diesel felt his stomach drop. Derek Stone stood at the end of the hallway, flanked by 2 deputies. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of clean-cut look that made people trust him. But his eyes told a different story. Cold, calculating, the eyes of a man used to getting what he wanted. "Well, well," Derek said, his voice carrying down the corridor. "The circus has arrived." Diesel didn't flinch. "We're here to see Emma Webb. Her godfather sent us." "Her godfather has no legal standing. I'm her father, and you're trespassing." "Actually," Sarah Mendez stepped out of a nearby room, tablet in hand. "They're visitors during visiting hours. Hospital policy allows up to 6 visitors per patient. They're well within their rights." Derek's jaw tightened. "Ms. Mendez, I thought we discussed this." "We did. You threatened my career. I recorded it." Sarah held up her phone. "Would you like to discuss it again?" Something flickered in Derek's eyes. Something dangerous. But he forced a smile. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I just want to take my daughter home. She's been through a traumatic accident and she needs to recover in familiar surroundings." "The doctors haven't cleared her for discharge," Sarah said. "I spoke to Dr. Patterson. He said, Dr. Patterson isn't her attending physician anymore. I requested a transfer this morning. Her new doctor is reviewing her case." Derek's smile faltered. "You did what?" "Standard procedure when there are concerns about a patient's home environment." The 2 deputies behind Derek exchanged glances. One of them, a younger guy with nervous eyes, shifted his weight uncomfortably. Derek took a step towards Sarah and Diesel moved to intercept. "I wouldn't do that," Diesel said quietly. "Are you threatening a law enforcement officer?" "I'm standing in a hallway. If you feel threatened by that, maybe you should examine why." For a long moment, nobody moved. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Then a small voice cut through the silence. "Uncle Diesel." Everyone turned. Emma stood in the doorway of her room, teddy bear clutched to her chest, hospital gown hanging off her thin frame. Her eyes were wide locked on the massive biker she'd only seen in photographs. Diesel's heart cracked wide open. She looked so small, so fragile, so much like Marcus at that age with those same gray eyes that saw too much. "Hey there, little wolf," he said softly. "Your Uncle Cole sent us to keep you company until he gets here." "You know Uncle Cole?" "Known him 20 years. He's the best man I ever met next to your daddy." Emma's lower lip trembled. "You knew my daddy." "I did, sweetheart. He was my brother, and that means you're my family too." Derek moved fast. "Emma, go back to your room. These men are dangerous." But Emma didn't move. She stared at Diesel with those two old eyes, and something passed between them. Recognition. Trust. The instinct of a wounded child who could tell the difference between someone who wanted to hurt her and someone who wanted to help. "They don't look dangerous," she said quietly. "They look like Daddy's friends from the pictures." "Emma, you look dangerous, Derek." Her voice was barely a whisper, but it carried. "You always look dangerous when you're mad." The hallway went dead silent. Derek's face flushed red. "Sweetheart, you don't know what you're saying. You're confused. You're on medication." "I'm not confused." Emma's voice grew stronger. "I know what you did. I know what you do. And I'm not going home with you. Ever." "That's enough." Derek strode toward her, hand outstretched. "We're leaving. Now." Ghost stepped into his path. The lady said no. "Get out of my way. Make me." Derek's hand dropped to his service weapon. The entire hallway seemed to hold its breath. "Derek," the younger deputy spoke up, voice strained. "Maybe we should wait for the paperwork to go through. Do this by the book." "Shut up, Tommy. I'm just saying there's a lot of witnesses here, and cameras. Maybe this isn't the best." "I said shut up." But Tommy's words had done their work. Derek's hand moved away from his gun. His eyes swept the hallway, counting the phones already recording the faces watching from doorways. "This isn't over," he said to Ghost. "I'm going to have every one of you arrested for interference with a police officer." "Looking forward to it," Ghost replied. "My lawyer loves cases like this." Derek turned to Sarah. "And you. You think you're safe because you have recordings. I have friends in places you can't imagine. By the time I'm done, you won't be able to get a job cleaning toilets." Sarah didn't blink. "Noted. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to check on my patient." She walked past Derek without flinching, took Emma's hand, and led her back into the room. The door closed with a soft click. Derek stood there, breathing hard, fists clenched at his sides. The mask he wore for the public was slipping, revealing something ugly underneath. "You have no idea what you've started," he said to Diesel. "Neither do you." Derek turned and walked away, deputies trailing behind him. But at the elevator, he paused and looked back. "Tell Cole Hartley something for me. Tell him I know about Marcus. I know what really happened in Syria. And when this is over, I'm going to make sure everyone else knows too." The elevator doors closed on his smile. Diesel felt the words hit him like a punch to the gut. What the hell did that mean? What did Derek know about Syria? But there was no time to wonder. His phone buzzed. Cole's number. "We're 4 hours out," Cole said. "What's the situation?" Derek was here. We blocked him from taking Emma, but barely. He's threatening everyone, especially the social worker, and Cole... Diesel hesitated. "He said he knows something about Syria, about Marcus. Said he's going to tell everyone what really happened." A long pause. When Cole spoke again, his voice was ice. "Let him try." "Cole, what's he talking about?" "Nothing that matters. Just keep Emma safe. I'll handle Derek when I get there." The line went dead. Diesel stared at his phone, a cold feeling settling in his chest. In 20 years, he'd never heard Cole sound like that. What the hell had happened in Syria? Inside Emma's room, the little girl sat on her bed while Sarah checked her vitals. Ghost stood guard at the door, arms crossed, watching the hallway. "Sarah." Emma's voice was small. "Yes, honey." "Derek said those men are dangerous, but they're not, are they?" Sarah paused, looking at the bikers visible through the window. Leather jackets, tattoos, scars. They looked like exactly the kind of people mothers warned their children about. But they'd driven 600 miles for a little girl they'd never met. They'd stood up to a corrupt cop without throwing a single punch. They'd called a 7-year-old little wolf with such tenderness it made Sarah's heart ache. No, Emma, they're not dangerous, not to you. Then why is Derek scared of them? Sarah smiled sadly. Because they're the kind of people who keep their promises. And men like Derek hate people like that. Emma nodded slowly, processing this. Then she looked up with those 2 old eyes. Sarah, can I tell you a secret? Of course, sweetheart. Mommy hid something in my teddy bear before she went to heaven. She made me promise not to tell anyone, especially Derek. But Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. She said if I ever found someone I could trust, someone who would believe me, I should give it to them. Sarah's breath caught. Do you trust me, Emma? The little girl studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded. Mommy would have liked you. You have kind eyes, like she did. Carefully, Emma turned her teddy bear over. She pointed to a seam along the back, slightly uneven, clearly hand-stitched. She put it in there, said it was proof. Proof of what Derek did. Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for the bear. May I? Emma handed it over. With careful fingers, Sarah picked at the stitching. Thread by thread, the seam came apart, and there, nestled in the stuffing, was a small object wrapped in plastic. A micro SD card. Sarah stared at it, heart pounding. Emma, do you know what your mother put on this? Emma shook her head. She just said it was important. She said it would keep us safe. Her eyes filled with tears. But it didn't keep her safe, did it? Sarah pulled the little girl into a gentle hug, mindful of her injuries. No, baby, it didn't. But it might keep you safe. And it might make sure what happened to your mommy never happens to anyone else. You promise. There was that word again. Promise. Sarah thought about all the children she'd tried to protect over the years. The ones she'd saved. The ones she'd lost. The ones who'd fallen through the cracks of a system that was supposed to help them. She thought about Derek Stone with his badge and his lies and his friends in high places. She thought about 98 bikers riding across the desert because a dead man's daughter needed help. I promise, Emma. Whatever's on this card, I'm going to make sure the right people see it. And Derek is never going to hurt you again. 3 hours later, the rest of the convoy arrived. Diesel heard them before he saw them. A rumble like distant thunder that grew and grew until it shook the windows. He stepped outside just as the first motorcycles crested the hill. 86 riders. Chrome gleaming engines, roaring leather cuts bright in the afternoon sun. They poured into the hospital parking lot like a river of steel and swept into formation with military precision. At the front, Cole Hartley killed his engine and dismounted. He looked exhausted. 600 miles of highway behind him, another battle ahead. But his eyes were clear and his jaw was set, and when Diesel clasped his hand, Cole's grip was iron. How is she? Cole asked. Scared, hurt, but tough. Just like her daddy. And Derek came by 3 hours ago with 2 deputies. Tried to take her. We blocked him. He's been making calls ever since pulling strings. Word is he's got a judge ready to sign emergency custody papers tonight. Cole's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went hard. Where's Judge Tony? Inside, working on counter motions. Says he's got something, but he won't tell me what. And the social worker, Mendez. Diesel lowered his voice. She found something, Cole, in Emma's teddy bear. Jennifer hid a micro SD card in there before she died. Sarah's been trying to access it, but it's password protected. Cole went still. What kind of password? No idea. But whatever's on that card, Jennifer thought it was important enough to hide from Derek. Important enough to die for. For a long moment, Cole said nothing. He stared up at the hospital at the 3rd floor window where a small figure watched the parking lot full of motorcycles. I need to see her, he said. Derek's got people watching. The moment you go in there, I don't care. Cole started walking. That little girl has been waiting 4 years for me to keep my promise. She's not waiting one more minute. The elevator ride felt endless. Cole stood, rigid hands clenched, heart hammering against his ribs. Behind him, Diesel and Ghost flanked like bodyguards. The doors opened. A hallway full of curious faces. Nurses, patients, visitors, all staring at the bikers who'd taken over their hospital. And at the end of the hall, a small figure in a hospital gown. Emma. She looked so much like Marcus had hurt. The same gray eyes, the same stubborn chin, the same way of standing with her weight on one foot like she was ready to run at any moment. But she didn't run. She walked. One step, then another, moving down that hallway like it was the longest journey of her life. Her broken wrist hung in its cast, her teddy bear dangled from her good hand. Her eyes never left Cole's face. Cole met her halfway. He dropped to his knees, putting himself at her level, and waited. "Uncle Cole." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yes, sweetheart. It's me. You came." "I promised, didn't I?" Emma's face crumpled. 4 years of fear and pain and loneliness came pouring out in a single sob as she threw herself into his arms. Cole held her like she was made of glass and steel at the same time. Fragile, but unbreakable. Hurt, but not destroyed. "I've got you," he murmured into her hair. "I've got you, little wolf. Nobody's ever going to hurt you again. Derek said you wouldn't come. He said you didn't care about me. He said nobody cared about me. Derek's a liar, Emma. I cared every single day. I tried to come see you, but he wouldn't let me. But that's over now. I'm here and I'm not leaving without you." Emma pulled back, looking up at him with tear-streaked cheeks. "Promise. I promise." "Daddy said you always keep your promises." Cole's throat tightened. He thought about Marcus bleeding out in Syrian sand, asking with his last breath for Cole to protect his daughter. "Your daddy was right, and I'm going to keep this one if it's the last thing I do." A commotion at the end of the hall made them both turn. Derek Stone stood at the elevator, face flushed, a piece of paper clutched in his hand. "I have a court order," he announced loudly. "Emergency custody. That girl is coming with me." Cole rose slowly, putting Emma behind him. "Let me see it." Derek marched forward and thrust the paper at Cole. "Signed by Judge Harrison 30 minutes ago. You have no legal standing. She's my daughter and I'm taking her home." Cole scanned the document. It looked real. It looked official. It looked like exactly the kind of thing a man with powerful friends could get pushed through in a matter of hours. But something didn't add up. "This says the hearing is tomorrow morning," Cole said. "This is an interim order. Doesn't matter. It gives me custody until the hearing. And at the hearing, what happens when my lawyer presents Marcus Webb's will? The one that names me as Emma's guardian in the event of both parents' deaths." Derek's smile flickered. Jennifer's death was ruled an accident. She wasn't deceased at the time of Marcus's death, so the will doesn't apply. Funny thing about that, Judge Tony Castellano appeared from a side room, briefcase in hand. "I just got off the phone with the state attorney's office. They're reopening the investigation into Jennifer Webb's death. Seems they received some new evidence this afternoon." Derek went pale. "What evidence?" "A recorded statement from a witness who saw your car near the cliff where Jennifer went over. Made 3 days after her death, then mysteriously disappeared from the case file." Tony smiled thinly. "Amazing what turns up when you know where to look." "That's impossible. That file was—" Derek stopped himself, but it was too late. "Was what?" Tony asked. "Destroyed hidden sounds like something you'd know about if you were involved in covering it up." Derek's face twisted. "This is harassment. You're all going to regret this." "Maybe," Cole said. "But right now, all I care about is that little girl behind me. She's not going anywhere with you tonight. Not tomorrow. Not ever. I have a court order, and I have 97 people outside who will stand between you and that child until this gets sorted out legally." Cole stepped closer, voice dropping. "So, you can call your friends and your judges and whoever else you have in your pocket. But Derek, I made a promise to a dying man, and I will burn this whole system down before I let you hurt his daughter again." Something passed between them. Recognition. Understanding. The knowledge that this was no longer about custody papers or legal standing. This was war. Derek took a step back, then another. His face was a mask of barely controlled rage. "Tomorrow morning," he said, 9 a.m. You'll be in that courtroom, and I'll have Emma home by noon. Enjoy your night, Mr. Hartley. It's the last one you'll have as a free man." He turned and walked away, but not before shooting one last look at Emma. A look that made the little girl press closer to Cole's legs, trembling. "He's going to try something," she whispered. "He always tries something when he looks like that." Cole knelt down again, meeting her eyes. "You remember what I told you about wolves, Emma?" She shook her head. "Wolves protect their pack, always, no matter what." He gestured toward the window where dozens of motorcycles gleamed in the fading light. "You see all those people out there? Every single one of them is here for you, because your daddy was pack, and that makes you pack too." Emma looked at the bikers, then back at Cole. "They came all this way for me. For you, sweetheart, because family doesn't leave family behind." For the first time since Cole had arrived, Emma smiled. It was a small smile, fragile and uncertain. But it was real, and it was enough. That night, 98 bikers kept vigil around St. Catherine's Hospital. They slept in shifts, wrapped in blankets donated by local supporters who'd seen the news coverage. They drank coffee brought by nurses who whispered, "Thank you and bless you, and keep that baby safe." Inside Emma's room, Cole sat in a plastic chair watching her sleep. The teddy bear was tucked under her arm. The micro SD card was in Sarah's possession, being worked on by a tech-savvy club member who'd driven up from Austin. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and courtrooms and a fight Cole wasn't sure he could win. But tonight, Emma was safe. And sometimes that had to be enough. Just after midnight, his phone buzzed. A text from Mama Rose standing watch outside. Black SUV circling the block. Third time in an hour, same plates. Cole moved to the window. In the parking lot, his brothers and sisters sat on their bikes like sentinels alert, despite the late hour. Another text, "We see them, we're ready." Cole watched the SUV make another pass, then disappear into the darkness. Derek was probing, testing, looking for weakness. He wouldn't find any. But as Cole turned back to watch Emma sleep, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle hadn't even begun yet. The call came at 4:47 in the morning. Cole jerked awake in the hospital chair phone buzzing against his chest. Emma stirred, but didn't wake her small hands still clutching the teddy bear. "We cracked it." Spider's voice was breathless on the other end. The club's tech expert, a former NSA analyst who'd traded government secrets for motorcycle freedom. "Cole, you need to see this, right now." "What's on it?" "Everything. Bank records, photographs, audio recordings. Jennifer Webb documented every damn thing for 18 months before she died. Evidence tampering stolen drugs from evidence lockers, payoffs to other deputies." Spider paused. "And Cole, there's a recording from the night before she died. Derek threatening to kill her if she went to the police." Cole's blood turned to ice. "He actually said it, clear as day. His voice, her voice, him describing exactly how he'd make it look like an accident. She must have had her phone recording in her pocket. Can you get copies to Judge Tony?" "Already done. And Cole, I sent copies to the FBI field office in Dallas, the state attorney general, and 3 different news stations. Whatever happens in that courtroom today, Derek Stone is finished." Cole looked at Emma, still sleeping, still innocent, still unaware that her mother had died, trying to protect her. "Thank you, Spider." "Don't thank me. Just nail that bastard to the wall." The line went dead. Cole sat in the darkness, phone clutched in his hand, and felt something shift inside him. For 4 years, he'd carried the weight of his broken promise like a stone around his neck. For 4 years, he'd wondered if he could have done more, been braver, fought harder. But Jennifer had been fighting too, quietly, secretly, building a case against the monster she'd married, knowing it might cost her everything. She'd died trying to protect Emma. Now Cole would finish what she'd started. At 6 a.m., the hospital began to wake. Nurses changed shifts, Breakfast trays clattered in hallways, and in the parking lot, 98 bikers prepared for war. Cole found Mama Rose outside organizing the convoy like a general marshaling troops. "How we looking?" he asked. "Ready?" She handed him a cup of coffee strong enough to strip paint. "Judge Tony says the hearing's at 9. That gives us 2 hours to get Emma ready and get to the courthouse." "She's not going to the courthouse. Too dangerous." The judge agreed to let her testify by video from here. Mama Rose nodded. "Smart. Derek will be watching for any excuse to get his hands on her. That's why I need you to stay here, you and a dozen others. Guard her room. Don't let anyone in except medical staff and Sarah. And if Derek's people try something," Cole's jaw tightened, "then you do whatever you have to do, but Mama, keep it legal. We can't give them any ammunition." "Legal," she snorted. "You know I was arresting bad guys before you were born, right? 30 years LAPD. I know how to handle crooked cops." Cole had almost forgotten. Rosa Martinez's road name, Mama Rose, had been one of the first female detectives in Los Angeles. She'd retired after her partner was killed by a dirty cop who walked free on a technicality. The day she got her pension, she bought a Harley and never looked back. "Then you know what we're up against," Cole said. "I know exactly what we're up against." Her eyes went hard. "Which is why that little girl is going to be surrounded by 12 of the meanest, toughest, most stubborn wolves in this pack. Derek Stone will have to go through all of us to get to her. That's what I'm counting on." At 7:30, Sarah helped Emma get ready for her video testimony. The little girl was quiet, withdrawn, her eyes red from crying in her sleep. "I don't want to talk about it," she whispered. "I don't want to remember." Sarah knelt beside her bed. "I know, sweetheart, I know it's hard. But the things you say today might keep other kids safe from people like Derek. You're not just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for all the kids who don't have someone to speak up for them." Emma looked at her teddy bear. "Mommy used to say that. She said sometimes being brave means doing scary things because they're right. Your mommy was a very wise woman. She was the bravest person I knew." Emma's voice cracked. "Even braver than Daddy. Because she was scared all the time, but she did the right thing anyway." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. 7 years old. This child was 7 years old, and she understood courage better than most adults. "Your mommy would be so proud of you, Emma. So incredibly proud." "You think so? I know so." At 8:15, Cole gathered his core group in the hospital lobby. Diesel Ghost Reaper and Judge Tony, who looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Here's the situation," Tony said, spreading papers on a table. "We have the SD card evidence, which is devastating. Derek threatening Jennifer, evidence of corruption, everything. The state attorney's office is already moving on it. But here's the problem. The evidence came from Emma's teddy bear. Derek's lawyer is going to argue it was illegally obtained, planted, fabricated. We need something that corroborates it." "Like what?" Diesel asked. "Like testimony from someone inside Derek's circle, someone who can confirm the corruption from first-hand knowledge." "None of those deputies are going to flip," Ghost said. "They're all in too deep." Tony smiled grimly. "Maybe not the deputies, but what about the wives?" Cole looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "I did some digging last night. Deputy Tommy Chen, the young one who was with Derek at the hospital yesterday. His wife filed for divorce 3 months ago. She's been living with her sister in El Paso." Tony pulled out a photograph. "And according to court records, she filed a sealed statement alleging she witnessed her husband and Derek Stone discussing evidence tampering." "Why didn't she go to the police?" "Because the police are Derek Stone. But she went to the FBI instead. They've been building a case for 6 months. They just didn't have enough to move on." Tony's smile widened. "Until now, the SD card evidence was exactly what they needed. I got a call 30 minutes ago. FBI agents are en route. They're going to arrest Derek Stone in that courtroom." Cole felt something loosen in his chest. "It's over then." "Not quite. We still need to get through the custody hearing. If Derek's lawyer can stall long enough, if he can get Emma remanded to Derek's custody even temporarily," Tony shook his head, "'cause we can't let that happen. We need Emma's testimony to be strong enough that the judge has no choice but to rule in our favor before the FBI arrives." "She's 7 years old, Tony. She's been through hell." "I know. But she's also the only one who can describe what Derek did to her. Medical records show abuse, but without Emma's voice, Derek's lawyer will claim it's all circumstantial. Cole thought about the little girl upstairs clutching her teddy bear trying to be brave. He thought about Marcus bleeding out in Syrian sand, begging Cole to protect his daughter. "She can do it," Cole said quietly. "She's stronger than any of us." At 8:45, the convoy began rolling out. 86 motorcycles forming a column that stretched 4 blocks. They rode in perfect formation, engines synchronized, a river of chrome and leather flowing through the Texas morning. Cole led the way with Diesel and Ghost flanking him. Behind them came the rest of the pack, a wall of loyalty on wheels. They passed through the downtown streets and people stopped to stare. Some held up phones recording. Others waved. A few gave thumbs down, suspicious of the leather-clad army rolling through their town. But the bikers didn't care. They had one mission. Get to that courthouse. Protect that little girl. Keep the promise. At 8:58, they pulled into the courthouse parking lot. The media was already there. News vans from 3 different stations, reporters with microphones, cameras everywhere. Word had gotten out about the biker convoy, and the story had gone viral overnight. Biker army descends on Texas courthouse. 98 motorcyclists fight for abused child. The girl they came to save. Cole dismounted and removed his helmet. Immediately, reporters surged toward him. "Mr. Hartley, can you tell us why you're here? Mr. Hartley, what's your relationship to the child? Mr. Hartley, are you aware that Derek Stone is calling this witness intimidation?" Cole held up his hand. "I'm here to honor a promise I made to a dying soldier. His daughter needs protection. We're here to provide it, legally, peacefully. That's all I have to say." He pushed through the crowd, his brothers forming a protective corridor around him. At the courthouse steps, Derek Stone was waiting. He looked different today. Polished, professional, wearing his dress uniform with every medal and commendation he'd ever received. Behind him stood a wall of supporters. Fellow deputies, local businessmen, church members, all there to testify to his outstanding character. "Cole Hartley," Derek said loudly, playing to the cameras. "I want you to know I don't blame you for this. You've been manipulated by a disturbed child and some very dishonest people. But when this is over, I hope we can put this behind us." Cole stopped 3 feet away from him. "When this is over, Derek, you'll be in prison." Derek's smile didn't waver, but something flickered in his eyes. "That's a bold claim from a man with no legal standing. I have a court order. I have the support of my community. I have the truth on my side." "Do you—" Cole leaned closer, dropping his voice so only Derek could hear. "I know about the SD card, Derek. I know what Jennifer recorded. The FBI knows too. They're on their way right now." For a split second, Derek's mask cracked. Fear flashed across his face, raw and real. Then it was gone, replaced by that smooth politician's smile. "I don't know what you think you have, but it won't matter. Jennifer was mentally ill. Everyone knew it. Whatever she recorded was the product of a diseased mind." "Then why did you kill her?" Derek didn't flinch. "I didn't kill anyone. My wife died in a tragic accident. I've mourned her every day since." "You'll have plenty of time to mourn in a federal prison." Derek's smile turned cold. "We'll see about that." He turned and walked into the courthouse, his entourage following. Cole watched him go, fists clenched. "Easy, brother." Diesel appeared at his shoulder. "Don't let him get in your head, that's what he wants." "He's not in my head. He's just delaying the inevitable." "You sure about that FBI tip?" "Tony's sure, and Spider confirmed it. They'll be here within the hour." "Then we just need to stall." "No." Cole shook his head. "We need to win. Clean. Decisive. I want that judge to rule in our favor before the FBI even walks through those doors. I want Emma to know she was saved by the law, not just by luck." "That's a tall order." "That's the only order that matters." The courtroom was packed. Every seat filled, people standing against the walls. The judge, a stern woman named Patricia Vega, surveyed the crowd with obvious displeasure. "This is a custody hearing, not a circus," she announced. "I will have order in my courtroom, or I will clear it entirely. Is that understood?" Murmurs of assent. Derek sat at the plaintiff's table with his lawyer, a slick attorney named Harrison Wells, who'd gotten more guilty men acquitted than anyone in the county. Cole sat opposite with Judge Tony, who looked calm despite the pressure. "Let's begin," Judge Vega said. "Mr. Wells, you filed for emergency custody. Make your case." Wells stood smoothly. "Your Honor, my client, Sheriff's Deputy Derek Stone, is a decorated law enforcement officer and devoted father. His stepdaughter, Emma, has been hospitalized following an unfortunate accident, and my client has been wrongfully prevented from exercising his legal custody rights by a group of outside agitators." "Objection," Tony said calmly. "Mr. Hartley has legal standing as Emma's godfather, named in her biological father's will as guardian in the event of both parents' deaths." "Her mother's death was ruled an accident," Wells countered. "The will's provisions don't apply. The will states, in the event of both parents' deaths or incapacity, Jennifer Webb is deceased. The provision is valid." Judge Vega held up her hand. "I'll review the will during recess. Continue, Mr. Wells." Wells spent the next 30 minutes parading character witnesses. Deputies who called Derek a hero, church members who praised his faith, neighbors who described him as a loving father. Each one painted the same picture: Derek Stone, pillar of the community, victim of a vendetta by dangerous outsiders. Then it was Tony's turn. "Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence a series of documents recovered from the personal effects of Jennifer Webb, deceased mother of Emma Webb." Wells shot to his feet. "Objection. We've had no opportunity to review these documents." "They were recovered yesterday, Your Honor. I've provided copies to opposing counsel this morning." Judge Vega nodded. "Overruled. Continue." Tony approached the bench with a folder. "These documents include bank records showing deposits into Sheriff Deputy Stone's personal account from unknown sources totaling over $200,000 over the past 3 years. They also include photographs of evidence lockers that appear to show tampering and audio recordings made by Jennifer Webb in the months before her death." The courtroom buzzed. Derek's face remained impassive, but his knuckles were white where he gripped the table. "Additionally," Tony continued, "I'd like to play a portion of a recording made by Jennifer Webb on March 14th of this year, 5 days before her death." "Objection," Wells shouted. "These recordings were obtained illegally. My client's Fourth Amendment rights. The recordings were made by Jennifer Webb in her own home, which she had every right to do. They were then given to her daughter for safekeeping. No illegal search occurred." Judge Vega considered. "I'll allow it. Play the recording." Tony pressed a button on his laptop. Jennifer Webb's voice filled the courtroom, thin and frightened. "Derek, please. We can work this out. You don't have to—" Derek's voice cut in cold and hard. "Work it out. You went through my files. You copied my records. You think I don't know what you're planning. I just want to protect Emma. If you would just get help. Help." A bitter laugh. "You want to know what happens to cops who get help? They lose everything. Their jobs, their pensions, their families. You want to take that from me? After everything I've done for you and that brat. Don't call her that. She's my daughter. She's a whiny little reminder that you belong to someone else first. And if you think I'm going to let you destroy my career over some bleeding heart conscience." A long pause, then Derek's voice low and dangerous. "You know what happens to people who betray me, Jennifer. You've seen it. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to delete those files. You're going to forget everything you saw. And you're going to be the good little wife I married, because if you don't, I will make sure you disappear, and I'll make it look like an accident. You know I can do it. You've seen me do it. Derek, please. I'm done talking. Make your choice." The recording ended. The courtroom was dead silent. Derek's face had gone gray. His lawyer was whispering furiously in his ear, but Derek wasn't listening. He was staring at Cole with pure hatred. "Your Honor, Tony said quietly. "Jennifer Webb died in a car accident 5 days after this recording was made. An accident that occurred on a straight road in clear weather, caused by brake failure in a car that had been serviced 2 weeks earlier. I move that this court remand custody of Emma Webb to her legal guardian Cole Hartley, pending a full investigation into the circumstances of her mother's death and the abuse she suffered at the hands of Derek Stone. Judge Vega's face was stone. Mr. Wells, does your client wish to respond? Wells stood slowly. Your Honor, this recording is clearly fabricated. My client. It's not fabricated. A new voice from the back of the courtroom. Everyone turned. Deputy Tommy Chen stood in the doorway, his wife beside him. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. Everything on that recording is true. I've been part of Derek's operation for 2 years. Evidence tampering stolen drugs payoffs. I have documentation. I've given it all to the FBI. He looked at Derek and his voice cracked. I'm sorry, I should have spoken up sooner, but I was scared. We all were. Derek surged to his feet. Tommy, what the hell are you? I'm done, Derek. I'm done covering for you. I'm done pretending you're not a monster. Tommy's voice rose. You killed Jennifer. Everyone in that department knows it. We just didn't have the guts to say it. The courtroom erupted. Reporters were shouting questions. Derek's supporters were on their feet. Judge Vega was banging her gavel, calling for order. And in the chaos, Cole noticed something. Derek's hand moving toward his belt, toward his service weapon. Gun! Cole shouted, throwing himself toward the bench. Everything happened at once. Derek drew his pistol, swinging it toward Tommy. Bailiffs rushed forward. Someone screamed. Cole tackled Derek from behind, driving him into the floor. The gun went off the bullet, burying itself in the ceiling. Plaster rained down. They grappled on the floor, Derek fighting like a cornered animal. He was strong, trained, desperate. But Cole had 20 years of combat experience and the rage of a man protecting his family. He drove his elbow into Derek's face, felt cartilage crunch. Derek's grip on the gun loosened. Cole wrenched it away and threw it across the room. It's over, Cole shouted, pinning Derek to the floor. It's over, you son of a bitch! Derek spat blood and laughed, a horrible broken sound. You think this changes anything? I have friends everywhere. In the department, in the courts, in places you can't even imagine. Emma will never be safe. Never. I'll find a way. I always find a way. Cole leaned close, his voice dropping to a whisper. No, you won't. Because in about 30 seconds, the FBI is going to walk through those doors. And you're going to spend the rest of your life in a federal prison where badge-wearing child abusers get exactly what they deserve. As if on cue, the courtroom doors burst open. A dozen FBI agents in tactical gear flooded in, weapons drawn. The lead agent, a woman with steel-gray hair and harder eyes, walked straight to where Cole had Derek pinned. Derek Stone, you're under arrest for evidence tampering, drug trafficking, extortion, and conspiracy to commit murder. She looked at Cole. You can let him up now. We've got it from here. Cole released Derek, slowly standing back as agents hauled the former deputy to his feet. Derek's face was a mask of blood and rage. This isn't over, Hartley. You hear me? This isn't... Actually, Judge Vega's voice cut through the chaos. For purposes of this custody hearing, it is very much over. She looked at Cole with something like respect. Mr. Hartley, based on the evidence presented today, I am granting you full emergency custody of Emma Webb, effective immediately. A permanent custody hearing will be scheduled for 30 days from now, but given the circumstances, I see no reason it will have a different outcome. Cole felt his knees go weak. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me. Thank that little girl for having the courage to speak up, and thank her mother for making sure the truth wouldn't die with her. Judge Vega banged her gavel. This court is adjourned. As agents dragged Derek out of the courtroom, he twisted around one last time. She'll never be safe, he screamed. You hear me, Hartley? Never. Cole watched him go, then pulled out his phone. Mama Rose answered on the first ring. Tell me we won. We won. Full custody. Derek's being arrested by the FBI right now. He heard cheering in the background, whoops and hollers from the wolves guarding Emma's room. How is she? Cole asked. She's right here, watching the whole thing on video. She wants to talk to you. A rustle, then Emma's small voice. Uncle Cole. Hey, sweetheart. Did we really win? Cole closed his eyes, feeling tears prick behind his lids. Yeah, baby. We really won. Derek's never going to hurt you again. I promise. You promise? I promise. And Emma, your mommy helped us win. That thing she hid in your teddy bear, it helped us stop Derek. She protected you even after she was gone. A long silence. Then in a voice thick with tears, she was the bravest, wasn't she? The bravest. Just like you. Uncle Cole, can I come home with you now? Home. Such a small word for such a big thing. Yeah, sweetheart, Cole said, his voice breaking. You can come home. Outside the courthouse, the bikers were waiting. News of the verdict had spread like wildfire, and they'd formed two lines flanking the steps, creating a corridor of leather and chrome. Cole walked out into the Texas sunshine, and 97 voices rose in a single cheer. But he barely heard them. All he could think about was a little girl in a hospital room, finally safe, finally free. All he could think about was a promise kept. Cole made it back to the hospital in 12 minutes. He broke every speed limit, ran 2 red lights, and didn't care. The only thing that mattered was getting to Emma. Mama Rose met him at the entrance, her weathered face streaked with tears she'd never admit to. She's been asking for you every 2 minutes, Mama Rose said. That little girl watched the whole thing on the video feed. Saw you tackle Derek, saw the FBI drag him out. She hasn't stopped shaking since. Cole pushed through the doors, taking the stairs 2 at a time because the elevator was too damn slow. 3rd floor, room 312. He burst through the door and stopped. Emma sat on the edge of her hospital bed, teddy bear clutched to her chest, eyes red and swollen. Sarah Mendez sat beside her, holding her uninjured hand. The moment Emma saw Cole, something broke inside her. Uncle Cole. She launched herself off the bed, cast and all, and Cole caught her. He went down on his knees and held her while she sobbed into his shoulder, her small body shaking with the force of everything she'd been holding back. I saw it, she cried. I saw Derek try to hurt that man. I saw you stop him. I saw them take him away. He's gone, sweetheart. He's never coming back. Promise. I promise. The FBI has him now. He's going to prison for a very, very long time. Emma pulled back, looking at him with those gray eyes that were so much like Marcus's it hurt. Did Mommy really help? Did the thing she hid really matter? Your mommy saved you, Emma. Even after she was gone, she found a way to protect you. She was the bravest person I ever knew. Braver than Daddy. Cole thought about Jennifer Webb living with a monster, gathering evidence in secret hiding proof in her daughter's teddy bear because she knew she might not survive. She'd walked through hell every single day knowing what Derek was capable of doing, what needed to be done anyway. Just as brave, Cole said, in a different way. Your daddy was brave like a soldier. Your mommy was brave like a spy. They both loved you more than anything in the world. Emma buried her face in his neck. I miss them. I know, baby. I know. They stayed like that for a long moment, a 7-year-old girl and the man who'd promised to protect her finally keeping that promise after 4 years of failure and regret. Sarah Mendez wiped her eyes and cleared her throat. The doctors want to do one more check before discharge. Make sure her ribs are stable for travel. It should only take about an hour. Cole nodded without letting Emma go. Whatever she needs. And Mr. Hartley, the FBI wants to talk to you before you leave. Agent Morrison, the one who led the arrest. She has some questions about the evidence chain. She can wait. She said it's urgent. Cole finally looked up. Something in Sarah's expression made his stomach tighten. What kind of urgent? She didn't say, but she looked worried. Cole gently untangled himself from Emma. Sweetheart, I need to go talk to some people for a few minutes. Mama Rose is going to stay with you, okay? Emma's grip tightened. Don't leave. I'm not leaving. I'm just going down the hall. I'll be back before you know it. You promise? There was that word again. Promise. The word that had brought him 600 miles across the desert. The word that had mobilized 98 bikers. The word that meant everything. I promise, Emma, I will always come back for you. Always. He found Agent Morrison in a conference room on the 2nd floor. She was younger than he'd expected, maybe early 40s, with the kind of hard-edged competence that came from years of dealing with the worst humanity had to offer. "Mr. Hartley, thank you for meeting with me. Your people said it was urgent." "It is." She gestured to a chair. "Please sit down." Cole remained standing. "What's going on?" Morrison studied him for a moment, then nodded as if she'd made a decision. "What I'm about to tell you is classified, but given your role in bringing down Derek Stone, I think you deserve to know." "Know what?" Derek Stone wasn't working alone. The evidence on that SD card, the testimony from Deputy Chen, they've revealed a network of corruption that goes far beyond one dirty cop. We're talking about a dozen officers across 3 counties. Evidence tampering, drug trafficking, witness intimidation. Some of it goes back 15 years. Cole felt cold. "How high does it go?" "High enough that we're worried about witness safety." Morrison's eyes met his. "High enough that we're worried about Emma's safety." "Derek's in custody. He can't hurt her anymore." "Derek is in custody, but his partners aren't. We've identified at least 8 other officers involved in his operation, and we've only been able to arrest 3 of them. The others have gone dark, and Mr. Hartley, some of these men were very close to Derek. They know he was taken down because of Emma's testimony and her mother's evidence." Cole's blood turned to ice. "You're saying someone might try to hurt her, to get revenge?" "I'm saying we can't rule it out. We're going to provide protection, but it's going to take time to coordinate. Until then, I'm recommending that Emma be kept in a secure location with people who can protect her. She's going to be with me, and 97 bikers who would die before letting anyone touch her." Morrison nodded slowly. "I was hoping you'd say that. Your club has an interesting reputation, Mr. Hartley. A lot of law enforcement doesn't trust motorcycle clubs. But I've done my research. The Iron Wolves have never been involved in criminal activity. Most of your members are veterans, first responders, professionals. You're not outlaws, you're just people who like to ride." "We're family," Cole said. "That's all that matters." "Then keep her close. Don't let her out of your sight until we've rounded up everyone in Derek's network. I'll be in touch with updates, but for now, assume anyone with a badge could be a threat." "Even you?" Morrison smiled grimly. "Even me. Trust is earned, Mr. Hartley. I haven't earned yours yet." "No, you haven't." "Fair enough. One more thing." She pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. "This is everything we've recovered about Jennifer Webb's death. The original accident report, the evidence that was suppressed, the statements that were ignored. I thought you might want to know what really happened." Cole stared at the folder. "I already know what happened. Derek killed her." "Yes, but you don't know how, or why it took him 5 days after she made that recording." Morrison's voice softened. "She didn't just hide evidence, Mr. Hartley. She tried to run. The night after she made that recording, she packed a bag, put Emma in the car, and headed for the highway. She was trying to get to you. We found a gas station receipt in Derek's files. She was only 200 miles from the Arizona border when he caught up with her." Cole felt something crack in his chest. She was coming to me. She was bringing Emma to the only person she trusted to keep her safe. Derek must have tracked her phone. He caught her, brought her back, and made sure she could never try again. Morrison paused. "She died trying to protect her daughter, Mr. Hartley, just like you're doing now." Cole picked up the folder with hands that weren't quite steady. "I'll read this later. Take your time. And Mr. Hartley, for what it's worth, I think Jennifer made the right choice. Emma couldn't be in better hands." He didn't trust himself to respond. He just nodded and walked out. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. Jennifer had been coming to him. 200 miles from safety. 200 miles from a life where Emma would have been protected from the beginning. And Derek had stopped her. 4 years of guilt crashed over Cole like a wave. If he'd tried harder, if he'd pushed back against Derek's threats, if he'd just gotten in his car and driven to Texas and demanded to see Emma, maybe Jennifer would still be alive. Maybe Emma would never have been hurt. Maybe none of this would have happened. "Stop." He opened his eyes. Mama Rose stood in front of him, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "I know that look," she said. "That's the look of a man drowning in what-ifs. Cut it out." She was coming to me, Rosa. Jennifer was bringing Emma to Arizona when Derek caught her. She was 200 miles away. And if she'd made it, Derek would have come after her anyway. Man like that doesn't let go. He would have found her, and he would have killed her, and maybe he would have killed you too. Maybe he would have killed Emma. You can't rewrite history, Cole. All you can do is write what comes next. She trusted me, and I let her down. No. You kept going when anyone else would have given up. You rallied 97 people to ride across a desert for a little girl you hadn't seen in 3 years. You stood in a courtroom and took down a man who thought he was untouchable. Mama Rose grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong. Jennifer Webb made sure her daughter would be protected. She hid that evidence because she knew someday it would matter, and it did. Because of her, and because of you, Emma is safe. That's not failure. That's victory. Cole looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. The FBI says some of Derek's people are still out there. They might come after Emma. Then we'll be ready. That little girl has 98 wolves standing between her and anyone who wants to hurt her. Let them come. I need to get her out of here, back to Arizona, somewhere I can control the situation. Then let's ride. Mama Rose smiled, and for a moment she looked like the fierce young detective she'd been 40 years ago. The pack is waiting. An hour later, Emma walked out of St. Catherine's Hospital for the last time. She moved slowly, still sore, her broken wrist cradled against her chest. But her head was up, and her eyes were clear, and when she saw what was waiting for her, she stopped in her tracks. 98 motorcycles lined the hospital driveway in perfect formation. 98 bikers stood beside their machines' helmets off, faces solemn. A corridor of chrome and leather stretching into the distance. And at the front, Ghost held something in his hands. A tiny leather jacket custom-made overnight by a club member who owned a leather shop. On the back was a patch of wolf pup surrounded by larger wolves with the words "Protected Family" stitched above it. Every wolf needs a pack, Ghost said, kneeling to help Emma slip the jacket over her cast. Welcome to ours, little one. Emma stared at the jacket, then at the wall of bikers, then at Cole. They're all here for me. Every single one, because your daddy was pack, and that makes you pack too. Even though I'm just a kid, Diesel stepped forward, all 6'5" of him, and crouched down to Emma's level. Kid, your daddy saved my best friend's life. That means I owe him everything, and now I owe you. He held out a massive hand. I'm Diesel. I'm going to be your Uncle Diesel from now on, if that's okay with you. Emma shook his hand solemnly. Did you know my daddy? Served with him for 3 years. Best soldier I ever met. And the worst poker player. Diesel grinned. He used to talk about you all the time. How smart you were. How brave. How you were going to grow up to do amazing things. He said that every chance he got made the rest of us sick, honestly. Diesel's grin faded into something softer. He loved you more than anything, Emma. And now, we're going to love you the same way. Because that's what family does. Emma looked at Cole, eyes brimming. Can I really go home with you, Uncle Cole, forever? Forever, sweetheart. My home is your home now. And all of them will be my family. All of them. And anyone else who joins the pack after today. Cole took her hand. You're never going to be alone again, Emma. I promise. The ride back to Arizona took 14 hours. They stopped twice for gas, once for food, and once because Emma needed to use the bathroom at a truck stop, where the truckers all came out to stare at the army of motorcycles filling their parking lot. Emma rode on Cole's bike in a specially rigged seat that Ghost had designed overnight. She wore the tiniest helmet Cole had ever seen, borrowed from a club member whose daughter had outgrown it years ago. For the first hour, she was quiet, overwhelmed by everything that had happened. But somewhere around the New Mexico border, she started asking questions. Uncle Cole, why do people think bikers are scary? Because they don't know us. People fear what they don't understand. But you're not scary. You're nice. Thanks, sweetheart. I'll take that as a compliment. Diesel is scary looking though, but in a good way, like a teddy bear that could fight. Cole laughed for the first time in days. I'll tell him you said that. Don't, he might get embarrassed. Emma Diesel hasn't been embarrassed since 1987. That's before I was born. That's before most things were born. She was quiet for a while, watching the desert roll by. Then, Uncle Cole, what's going to happen to Derek? Cole felt his shoulders tense. He's going to prison for a very long time. Will he ever get out? Maybe someday, but not for years and years. And by then, you'll be grown up, you'll be strong, and you'll have a whole family of wolves watching out for you. What if he tries to find me when he gets out? Then he'll have to go through me, and Diesel, and Ghost, and Mama Rose, and 94 other people who love you. Cole squeezed her hand. You don't have to be afraid of Derek anymore, Emma. He has no power over you now. Mommy was afraid of him, all the time. I know, sweetheart. But she still did brave things. She still hid that card in my teddy bear. She still tried to take me to you. Cole's throat tightened. How did you know about that? Sarah told me. Before we left the hospital. She said Mommy tried to run away with me, but Derek caught us. Emma's voice went small. I don't remember it. I was too little. You don't need to remember, Emma. What matters is that your mommy loved you enough to try, and what she left behind is what saved you. So she's still protecting me, even though she's in heaven. Always, sweetheart, always. They crossed into Arizona just as the sun was setting. The convoy had grown. Word had spread through motorcycle clubs across the Southwest, and riders had joined them at every state line. What started as 98 bikes was now over 200, a river of chrome and thunder flowing through the desert. News helicopters tracked their progress. Social media exploded. The story of the bikers who saved a little girl had gone viral, and now everyone wanted to see it end. Cole pulled off at a rest stop 30 miles from Phoenix. He needed to check on Emma, make sure she was holding up. But when he killed the engine and turned around, Emma was asleep. She'd nodded off somewhere in the last hour, her head resting against his back, her arms loose around his waist. In sleep, the tension had finally left her face. She looked peaceful. She looked like any other 7-year-old dreaming whatever dreams 7-year-olds dream. Cole sat there for a long moment, afraid to move, afraid to wake her. This small, wounded creature who'd been through more than most adults could survive. This child who'd lost both parents, been beaten by her stepfather, and still found the courage to call for help. Marcus's daughter. His daughter now. She okay? Diesel pulled up beside them, killing his engine. Sleeping. First time she's looked peaceful since we got to that hospital. Diesel studied Emma's face. She looks like him, doesn't she? Same stubborn chin. Same everything. Sometimes when she looks at me, I feel like he's still here. Maybe he is. Diesel wasn't a religious man, but something softened in his voice. Maybe that's why she called you. Maybe Marcus was watching over her all along, waiting for the right moment. Since when did you get spiritual? Since I watched a 7-year-old girl bring down a corrupt sheriff's department with nothing but a teddy bear and the truth. Diesel shrugged. If that's not proof of something bigger, I don't know what is. Cole didn't argue. He just looked at Emma sleeping peacefully for the first time in God knows how long and let himself believe it might be true. They rolled into Phoenix just after 10 p.m. Cole's neighborhood had transformed. The whole block was lined with people holding candles, hand-painted signs, flowers. Local news crews jostled for position. Neighbors who'd barely said hello to Cole in 5 years were standing in his driveway waiting to welcome him home. Emma woke as the engines died, blinking in confusion at the crowd. Uncle Cole. What's happening? I think our neighbors want to meet you. All of them? Looks like it. A woman Cole vaguely recognized from the house across the street stepped forward. She was crying. Mr. Hartley, I watched the whole thing on the news. That poor baby. I can't imagine what she's been through. She held out a casserole dish. I made lasagna. I know it's not much, but I wanted you to know we're here for you. Whatever you need." More people approached. Casseroles, pies, fruit baskets, bags of groceries, children's books and stuffed animals, and a brand new pink backpack that some stranger had bought at Target because every little girl needs a backpack for school. Cole stood in the middle of his driveway, overwhelmed by kindness from people he barely knew, watching Emma accept gifts with wide eyes and whispered thank yous. This was what community looked like. This was what family looked like. Not just the pack, but everyone around them coming together because a child needed help. Marcus would have loved this, Jennifer too. They were both gone, but their daughter was here, alive, safe, surrounded by more love than she knew what to do with. And tomorrow, Cole would start building her a new life, a real life, the kind she deserved. But tonight, he just needed to get her inside, get her settled, let her sleep in a real bed in a real home with someone who loved her standing guard. "Come on, sweetheart," he said, lifting her carefully off the bike. "Let's go see your room." Emma clutched her teddy bear with her good arm. "I have a room." "You have a room. Mama Rose set it up while we were on the road. Pink walls, just like you wanted." "How did she know I wanted pink walls?" "Because she asked. That's what family does. They pay attention." Emma was quiet as they walked toward the house. Then just before they reached the door, she stopped. "Uncle Cole." "Yeah, sweetheart. Thank you for coming to get me, for not forgetting about me, for keeping your promise." Cole knelt down, bringing himself to her level. "Emma, listen to me. I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to remember it. No matter what happens, no matter how hard things get, no matter how scared you feel. What? You are loved. By me. By every single person in that parking lot. By your mama and your daddy, who are watching over you from heaven. You are not alone, and you will never be alone again. Do you understand?" Emma's eyes filled with tears. But this time they weren't tears of fear or pain. They were tears of something else, something that looked a lot like hope. "I understand, Uncle Cole." "Good." He stood up and held out his hand. "Now come on, let's go home." They walked through the door together, leaving behind the crowds and the cameras and the chaos. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, FBI interviews and custody hearings, and the long, slow process of healing. There would be nightmares and setbacks and hard days that made them both want to give up. But tonight, a little girl slept in a pink bedroom surrounded by stuffed animals and watched over by 98 wolves. And somewhere Cole liked to think Marcus Webb was finally at peace. The nightmares came every night for the first month. Cole would wake to the sound of Emma screaming, her small voice cutting through the darkness like a blade. He'd run to her room and find her thrashing in the pink sheets, eyes squeezed shut, fighting an enemy only she could see. "No, Derek. Please. I'll be good. I'll be quiet. Please, don't hurt me." Cole would gather her in his arms and hold her until the shaking stopped. He'd whisper the same words over and over, a mantra against the darkness. "You're safe, Emma. You're home. Nobody's going to hurt you. I'm here. I've got you." Some nights it took minutes. Some nights it took hours. But Cole never left. He never got frustrated. He never told her to toughen up or get over it. He just held her and let her cry. The therapist said it was normal. Dr. Patricia Reyes, a child psychologist who specialized in trauma, came to the house 3 times a week. She told Cole that Emma's brain was processing 4 years of abuse, that the nightmares were actually a sign of healing. "She feels safe enough to let it out now," Dr. Reyes explained. "When she was with Derek, she had to keep everything locked down just to survive. Now that she's safe, her mind is finally dealing with what happened to her." "How long will it take?" Cole asked. "There's no timeline for healing, Mr. Hartley. Could be months, could be years. But Emma is remarkably resilient. She has something a lot of trauma survivors don't have." "What's that?" "A support system that would move mountains for her." Dr. Reyes smiled. 98 bikers riding across a desert isn't something most kids can claim. Cole thought about that a lot in the weeks that followed. The way the pack had rallied around Emma without being asked. the way they showed up day after day, making themselves part of her new life. Diesel came over every Saturday to cook breakfast. He'd let Emma crack the eggs even though she always got shells in the batter, and he'd eat whatever lumpy pancakes resulted like they were gourmet food. Mama Rose took Emma shopping for school clothes. She let her pick out whatever she wanted, no matter how sparkly or pink or covered in unicorns. Ghost taught her basic first aid, showing her how to clean a scrape and apply a bandage. Every wolf should know how to patch up a wound, he told her. You never know when you might need to help someone. Even Judge Tony stopped by regularly, bringing legal updates and, more importantly, ice cream. He had a standing weekly appointment to take Emma for Sundays at the shop down the street. Uncle Tony, why do you always get vanilla? Emma asked him once. Vanilla is boring. Vanilla is classic, Tony corrected. There's a difference. Boring is doing nothing. Classic is doing something perfectly over and over again. That sounds like something a lawyer would say. That's because I am a lawyer, short stuff. You're a weird lawyer. You wear leather and ride a motorcycle. The best lawyers are always a little weird. Remember that when you're older. 6 weeks after they came home, the FBI called with news. Cole took the call in his garage away from Emma's ears. Agent Morrison's voice was tight. We've arrested everyone in Derek Stone's network, 12 officers across 3 counties. The evidence from Jennifer's SD card was enough to bring down the whole operation. What about the investigation into her death? That's why I'm calling. Morrison paused. The grand jury just handed down an indictment. Derek Stone is being charged with first-degree murder in the death of Jennifer Webb. Combined with the corruption charges, he's looking at life without parole. Cole closed his eyes. Life without parole. Derek would never get out. Emma would never have to look over her shoulder wondering if the monster from her childhood was coming back. What happens now? There'll be a trial, probably a year from now, maybe longer. Emma might be called to testify, but given her age and the trauma she's experienced, the prosecution is trying to avoid that. The evidence is strong enough that they might not need her. Good. She's been through enough. I agree. Morrison's voice softened. How is she doing? Better. Still has nightmares. Still flinches when someone moves too fast. But she's laughing again. She's making friends. She's starting to believe that not everyone is going to hurt her. That's good to hear. She's lucky to have you, Mr. Hartley. No. Cole looked toward the house where Emma was probably watching cartoons with Diesel. I'm lucky to have her. He told Emma about the indictment that night in terms a 7-year-old could understand. The people who make the rules decided that Derek did something very bad, he explained. So he has to go to a special place where he can't hurt anyone ever again. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then forever. Forever, sweetheart. He can never come back. Never. She processed this, her small face serious. Good. He was mean to Mommy. He was mean to me. Mean people should have to go away. That's exactly right. Uncle Cole, do you think Mommy knows in heaven, I mean? Do you think she knows Derek is going to the special place? Cole thought about Jennifer Webb gathering evidence in secret hiding proof in a teddy bear trying to run to safety with her daughter. A woman who'd been murdered because she refused to let her child suffer in silence. Yeah, baby. I think she knows. And I think she's proud of you for being so brave. I wasn't brave. I was scared all the time. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. Being brave means doing the right thing even when you're terrified. You called me when you were hurt. You told the truth when it would have been easier to lie. You helped save yourself, Emma. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen. Emma climbed into his lap and pressed her face against his chest. I love you, Uncle Cole. The words hit him like a punch. 3 simple words that meant everything. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. 3 months after Emma came home, something changed. Cole noticed it first in the little things. The way she stopped flinching when he raised his hand to wave goodbye. The way she started sleeping through the night more often than not. The way she laughed without looking around first to see if it was okay. Then came the bigger things. Uncle Cole, can I call you Dad? The question came out of nowhere over breakfast on a random Tuesday. Cole nearly choked on his coffee. What? Emma stirred her cereal, not meeting his eyes. It's just, all the other kids at school have dads. And when they ask about my dad, I don't know what to say. Because my real daddy is in heaven, and Derek was never really my dad. He was just mean. But you, she finally looked up. You feel like a dad. You take care of me and make sure I'm safe, and you came all that way to get me. So I was wondering if maybe I could call you Dad, but only if it's okay. If you don't want me to, I won't. I just thought, Emma. Cole reached across the table and took her hand. Nothing would make me happier. Really. Really. But here's the thing. Your daddy, your real daddy. Marcus, he's still your dad. He always will be. You can have two dads. One who loved you from heaven and one who loves you here. So I can call you Dad and still love Daddy Marcus. Exactly. Emma's face broke into a smile so bright it hurt to look at. Okay, Dad. That one word from that one little girl healed something in Cole he hadn't even known was broken. The permanent custody hearing came 4 months after they returned to Arizona. Cole dressed in his best suit, the one he'd bought for Marcus's funeral and hadn't worn since. Emma wore a new dress, purple with tiny flowers picked out by Mama Rose. You look beautiful, sweetheart. You look weird. I've never seen you without your leather jacket. Special occasions call for special clothes. Is this a special occasion? The most special. Today, a judge is going to sign papers that say you're officially mine, forever. Emma's eyes went wide. Like forever, forever, not just until someone changes their mind. Forever, forever. No one can change their mind. No one can take you away. You'll be Emma Hartley and I'll be your legal father, and that's that. Emma Hartley. She tested the name. I like it. It sounds strong. It is strong. It's the name of a wolf. The courtroom was packed with iron wolves. All 97 of them had shown up, filling every seat, spilling into the hallways. Judge Vega, the same judge who'd granted emergency custody, looked out at the sea of leather and shook her head. Mr. Hartley, is there anyone in your motorcycle club who didn't come today? No, Your Honor. They're all here. I can see that, but she was smiling. Very well. Let's proceed. The hearing took less than an hour. Judge Tony presented the paperwork, the home study results, the testimonials from Dr. Reyes and Sarah Mendez, and a dozen character witnesses. Derek Stone's attorney made a half-hearted objection that was quickly overruled, and then it was done. By the power vested in me by the state of Arizona, Judge Vega announced, I hereby grant full and permanent custody of Emma Webb to Cole Michael Hartley. From this day forward, she shall be known as Emma Webb Hartley. The courtroom erupted. 97 bikers jumped to their feet, whooping and hollering and whistling. Emma grabbed Cole's hand and squeezed so hard he thought his bones might crack. Is it real, Dad? Am I really yours now? You've always been mine, sweetheart. Now it's just official. Outside the courthouse, the pack formed two lines again, just like they had at the hospital. Emma walked between them, her new dad at her side, while 97 voices rose in a single chant. Wolf, 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 wolf. Emma stopped in the middle of the corridor and turned to face them. Her small voice rang out clear and strong. Thank you for saving me. Diesel stepped forward, kneeling to her level. You saved yourself, little wolf. We just showed up for backup. Best backup ever. Emma threw her arms around his massive neck. Thank you, Uncle Diesel. One by one, she hugged them all. Mama Rose and Ghost and Reaper, Spider and Judge Tony, and the dozens of others whose names she was still learning. Each one got a squeeze and a whispered thank you, and each one tried very hard not to cry in front of their brothers and sisters. They failed. Every single one of them. That night, the pack threw a party at the clubhouse. It wasn't anything fancy. Burgers on the grill, beer in coolers, music playing from someone's phone. But to Emma, it was the most magical night of her life. She ran around with the other kids, children, and grandchildren of club members who'd become her instant friends. She ate 2 hot dogs and a mountain of potato chips and a piece of chocolate cake bigger than her head. And when she got tired, she curled up on Cole's lap and watched the adults talk and laugh and tell stories about her daddy. One time, Diesel was saying, Marcus bet me $50 he could eat a whole ghost pepper without drinking anything. This was in Syria, middle of summer, hot as hell. He pops that pepper in his mouth, starts sweating immediately, but refuses to give up. Ate the whole thing. Then he spent the next 3 hours crying in the latrine. Did he win the bet? Emma asked. Yeah, he did, but he said it wasn't worth it. He couldn't taste anything for a week. Daddy was stubborn, Emma said proudly. He was the most stubborn person I ever met, Diesel agreed. Until I met you. I'm not stubborn. Kid, you argued with a FBI agent for 20 minutes about whether purple was better than blue. Because it is. Purple is way better. See stubborn. Emma crossed her arms. That's not stubborn. That's just being right. The adults burst out laughing, and Emma grinned, pleased with herself. Cole held her a little tighter, marveling at how far she'd come. 4 months ago, this child had been hiding in a hospital bathroom, too scared to speak above a whisper. Now she was arguing with grown men and winning. Jennifer would be so proud. Marcus would be too. Around 10 o'clock, Mama Rose tapped a bottle to get everyone's attention. I have an announcement, she said. As you all know, I've been running the Women of the Pack program for 15 years, teaching self-defense, providing resources for women in dangerous situations, that sort of thing. Nods around the room. Everyone knew about Mama Rose's program. It had helped hundreds of women escape abusive relationships. Well, I've decided to expand it. Starting next month, we're going to add a children's component. Self-defense classes for kids. Age-appropriate education about recognizing abuse and asking for help. And most importantly, a guarantee that any child who reaches out to us will be protected. She looked at Emma. We're calling it Emma's Shield, because a 7-year-old girl reminded us all that even the smallest wolves can be warriors. Emma's mouth dropped open. You named it after me. We did. Is that okay? That's... Emma struggled to find words. That's the coolest thing ever. More laughter. More tears. Cole buried his face in Emma's hair and let himself feel, really feel how much his life had changed. 6 months ago, he'd been a lonely mechanic in a dusty garage haunted by a promise he'd failed to keep. Now he was a father, part of a family bigger than he'd ever imagined, and the architect of something that might help other children like Emma find safety and hope. It was more than he deserved, more than he'd ever dared to dream, and he was grateful for every second of it. 1 year to the day after Cole's phone rang at 3:17 a.m., the Iron Wolves held their first annual Emma's Day ride. 200 motorcycles gathered in the Phoenix parking lot where the pack usually met. But this time they weren't alone. Local news crews had come to cover the event. Community members had turned out to wave signs and cheer. Even a few police officers had shown up, good cops who wanted to show their support. The ride would cover the same 600 miles Cole had traveled to save Emma. Along the way, they'd stop at schools and community centers to talk about child abuse prevention. They'd distribute information about Emma's Shield. They'd raise money and awareness and hope. But first, there was a speech. Emma stood on a small platform at the front of the crowd wearing her leather jacket with the wolf pup patch. She was 8 years old now, taller than she'd been, healthier than she'd been, happier than she'd ever been. And she was terrified. Dad, I can't do this, she whispered. There are so many people. Cole knelt beside her. You've faced a lot scarier things than a crowd, sweetheart. This is different. What if I mess up? What if I forget what to say? Then you make something up, or you stop and start over, or you just tell them what's in your heart. He squeezed her hand. These people aren't here to judge you, Emma. They're here because of you, because your story inspired them, because you showed them what courage really looks like. I don't feel courageous. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's what courage feels like, baby girl. Now get up there and show them who you are. Emma took a deep breath, then another. Then she climbed up onto the platform and faced 200 bikers and a dozen cameras and hundreds of spectators. Her voice shook at first, but as she spoke, it grew stronger. A year ago, I was in a hospital and I was really scared. Someone was hurting me and no one believed me and I didn't know what to do. But my mommy had given me a phone number. She told me if I was ever in trouble, I should call it, so I did. She looked at Cole. My dad came. He rode all the way across the desert with 97 friends and they saved me. They believed me when no one else did. They protected me when no one else would. Her voice cracked, but she pushed through. My mommy told me once that family isn't just the people you're born with. It's the people who show up when you need them. I didn't understand what she meant then. But I do now. She gestured at the sea of leather and chrome. These are my family. Every single one of them. They came for me, and now they're going to ride for other kids who are scared like I was. Kids who think no one cares. Kids who think they're alone. Emma's eyes found the cameras. But they're not alone. And if any of you watching this are hurting, if someone is doing bad things to you and you don't know who to tell, I want you to know something. There are people who will believe you. There are people who will help. You just have to be brave enough to ask. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Being brave is really hard. I know. I was so scared when I made that phone call. But I did it anyway because my mommy and daddy taught me that doing the right thing is more important than being scared. Her voice steadied. So that's what Emma's Shield is about. It's about teaching kids that they have the right to be safe. That they deserve to be protected. That there's always someone who will believe them even when it feels like there isn't. She looked at Cole one more time. My dad kept his promise to my first daddy. He came when I needed him. And now we're all going to keep that promise for other kids, because that's what wolves do. We protect our pack, and every kid who needs help is part of our pack now. She raised her hand in a fist. Emma's Shield. Wolves forever. 200 voices rose as one. Wolves forever. The roar shook the parking lot. It echoed off buildings and rattled windows and carried across the city like thunder. And in the middle of it all, an 8-year-old girl smiled, because she finally understood what her mother had meant. Family wasn't just the people you were born with. Family was the people who showed up. Family was 98 bikers who rode 600 miles for a little girl they'd never met. Family was a promise kept, a trust honored, a love that crossed deserts and faced down monsters and never, ever gave up. The ride began at exactly noon. Cole led the way, Emma secure in her special seat behind him. Diesel and Mama Rose flanked them. Ghost rode sweep. The rest of the pack fell in behind a river of chrome and leather stretching back half a mile. They rode out of Phoenix and into the desert past the rest stop where Cole had received Sarah's urgent call, past the state line where the convoy had grown past all the miles that had brought them to this moment. And as they rode, Emma leaned forward and shouted over the engine noise. Dad, thank you. For what, sweetheart? For keeping your promise. For being my family. For everything. Cole felt tears sting his eyes behind his sunglasses. Thank you for calling me Emma. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for being my daughter. I love you, Dad. I love you too, baby girl. More than anything in the world. The highway stretched out ahead of them, endless and full of possibility. Behind them, 200 motorcycles roared their defiance against a world that had tried to break a little girl and failed. In the sky above, Cole liked to think Marcus was watching, and Jennifer too, smiling down at their daughter, at the family she'd found, at the future she'd claimed. 4 years ago, a soldier had died with a promise on his lips. 1 year ago, that promise had been tested. Today, that promise was stronger than ever. Emma Webb Hartley would never be alone again. She would never be unprotected. She would never have to hide in a bathroom and whisper into a stolen phone praying that anyone would come. Because she had a dad who loved her. A pack who protected her. A legacy that honored her. Because 98 bikers had shown the world what loyalty really looked like. Because some promises once made could never be broken. The Iron Wolves rode into the sunset carrying one little girl toward a future she'd almost lost. Behind them, the past faded into dust. Ahead, the road called. And they answered together as they always would. Wolves forever.